What up? What up? What up? Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona, the great state of Arizona. Welcome in, everybody. So, it looks like Judge Gull will not be hearing any of this Odinism tomfoolery. They failed to make any connection to the crime itself. So we will be diving into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders, providing all of the updates that actually dropped and were concluded as of this morning, the second status hearing. And I think it's safe to say that I have not led you guys astray yet. So you stick with me, and we'll give it to you straight. Good morning to Farmer, Ziggy, Patricia Warner, Growing Crazy. Good to see you. Night Shadow, Ziggy, Pitbull Mom, Dave G. What's up? Right field, coming out of right field. Jari, good to see you. Let's go to Jari's comment real quick. I wonder what advantages he could get with a plea. Well, it's not really his advantages. Him sparing the victim's family and the state of Indiana, that trial process, including his own family, is going to give him a bargaining chip. Not to mention showing some kind of remorse ahead of time. That's all it needs. That's all he needs. That's going to give him some wiggle room there. Kelly O, good to see you. Beth Gonzalez, welcome in. Nana 73. Always good to see you, Zoe. Cindy, Solar Chef Steph, Daisy, Shane, Don Spain, my guy Don, what up? Yankee, we'll catch you on the replay. So no Odins, Keegan, or Ron allowed. What or who is left? No one. Richard Allen is home alone. He's all by himself. Thank you, Farmer. Gambies, what's up? Not sure, Gambies. I didn't know they threw the geofence information out. I think the prosecution is going to use that information. I don't know why it would be thrown out. But I could be wrong. Truffles, welcome in. Sandy Majors. If Richard Allen doesn't plead, he will get the needle. Yeah, they could still, that could be what they talked about today. You know, we're going to take the death penalty off the table if you make a plea agreement. And remember, a change of plea and a plea agreement are exactly the same thing. You can't take a plea agreement or a plea deal without changing your plea. So I know you've been hearing this. They're two separate things, but they're not. Once you take a plea deal, you then enter in your change of plea. Pretty simple. Welcome in, Arrow. Yep, their hands have been tied. That's it. And we'll explain that throughout the live stream. Goat Dog, welcome in. Silas Stingy. Yeah, and if they can find that proof throughout, let's say he doesn't change his plea and he goes to trial, they can still, if they can make that connection, the judge will look at that. Yeah, I could be. I'm not quite sure, Gambies. It could be. You could be right. I just don't know why they would throw that out. That's something that the prosecution, I think, wants in there. Arrow says, I don't see a plea deal coming. Why do you suggest that? I'm confused. Why wouldn't he change his plea? He has not. He has no leg. He has nothing to stand on. Why wouldn't he change his plea? Yeah, remember, you guys can shoot me an email at any point if you think I have something wrong or I need some correction. Sleuthintuition@gmail.com, and we'll put it up on the screen. Okay, I think we'll start here with a pretty good article. It was long winded. I'm just going to show you guys the part where they talk about throwing out the alternate suspects. Yep, his back is against the wall. The thing is, when you go through trial, they're going to throw the book at you. You know, you potentially could spend, you could get the death penalty. You could, they could issue, it could just be worse, right? Going through trial and facing the maximum punishment, or the prosecution saying, hey, look, you can spare your family, you can spare the victims, and you can spare the state of Indiana of the time and the cost and, you know, the stress of going through trial. Or we could give you 50 years. And also, we'll make a deal with you. We'll also spare your family the details that we've uncovered, like what exactly it was that you did while you're at that crime scene. Thank you, Don. Thank you for the Cash App donation. I appreciate you guys. Very generous. Thank you so much. So there's plenty of reasons for him to plea. What is he going to, what, if he goes to trial, what's he going to say now? And we'll go through the list of evidence that the defense plans to bring forward. Shane says some sort of insanity plea. I think they're past all that. He's already, I don't think that's on the table. Thank you, Jari. Audra, welcome in. Okay. So there's some good information on here. It's hot off the presses. I think this is a good starting point. Yep, his best without anything to present in a trial. His defense attorney spent this entire, what was it, like 2 years now? Over 2 years? Well, almost 2 years. Going after these alternate suspects and trying to present that to create doubt, because that's all they had. They really didn't have any other options, guys. They also chased potential technicalities. You know, they tried to get him off on a technicality. They tried to poke holes in the investigation and whatever they might have done, or failures that they may have done throughout that process to exploit it. They did their best. They did everything they could, and they really didn't have much to, you know, to go on. Frank says Rescue and I are on our way to Allen County to pick up transcripts from July 30th and August 1st hearing. Well, look forward to seeing that in detail. I do appreciate Aspen and Turbo presenting that in detail. Thank you guys for that. Thank you, Don. Not quite ready to celebrate yet, right? We knew that this was going to happen. I haven't led you guys astray just yet. Told you we might see a couple of different status hearings, and once they threw out the Odinism angle or these third-party suspects in whole, including Ron, Logan, and Keegan Klein, and all those folks, that's when we can expect that plea. Because you're not going to have Nick McClellan saying, "Hey, we're going to put the death penalty on the table until all the pretrial stuff is cleared out of the way." And also, Judge Gull will most likely, if they do go to trial, I think she'll allow cameras, but I don't think we're going to get that far. That's why she's been kind of ignoring all of that. No reason to even address it yet. MF Witchy Widow, welcome in. Have a great day at work. Goat Dog, welcome. Yeah, he's got 0 left as far as strategies go. All he can say is it wasn't me, and that's not going to get him very far. Not if he's confessing to details that weren't provided to him in any of his paperwork or during interrogations. Things like the box cutter. We've never heard anything like that. Presented anything that's been provided to the public. So, serrated blade. Probably, even more than that, probably. Welcome in, Nana. Blind Squirrel, the scales of justice. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I hope we get justice for Abby and Libby. Because there's a lot of evidence against Richard Allen. And hopefully people will start to realize that instead of, trying to prove that they were right from the beginning. You have to follow the evidence. We chased Anthony Schatz. We chased Ron Logan. We even chased Brad Holder from the beginning. I mean, that was a big hill to get over. Jari says, who thinks they might have some great evidence that hasn't gotten out? Well, we can't assume that. I think that they do, but I think it has a lot to do with the DNA not being, 100% belonging to Richard Allen, but not excluding him. That'll be big. That's always big in trial. So that on top of the bullet is just going to, weigh on him even, more. It's going to drag him down that much more. Hey, what's up, Hathers? Glad to see you. Let me go ahead and hit you with this. All righty. So I just made you a mod. So alrighty, let's go ahead and go through this. Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to put that back up on the screen. Whoopsie. Yeah, Hathers says, I really think Nick has more than we know about. I agree. And the defense wouldn't be leaking that information. And once they made the arrest of Richard Allen and put his face all over the news and everybody started talking about, like, look at this guy. Other victims could come forward. Other people could come forward with interesting information, helping with the timeline, helping with propensity. Welcome in, T. Lemon. Okay, this was titled Richard Allen's Lawyers Won't Be Able to Present the Ritual Sacrifice Theory to a Jury at Delphi Murders Trial. This was by Mike Potter. Special Judge Francis Gull also blocked the defense from using the names of several alternate suspects they had put forward. So, Special Judge Francis Gull has granted a motion to block the defense from mentioning alleged cult activity or the names of almost a dozen alternate suspects when Richard Allen stands trial for allegedly murdering Abby Williams and Libby German. In an order issued on September 4th, which is today, the judge said the burden is on the defense to show a nexus between other suspects, Odinism, and the murders. Now, nexus is basically in a court of law saying a connection. The court finds the defense has failed to produce admissible evidence demonstrating a nexus, said Gull. Allen's attorneys claim the murders were part of a ritualistic pagan sacrifice committed by people who believe in the Norse religion of Odinism, and they want to introduce evidence at the trial that implicates several other men in the ritualistic murders. They insist Allen was wrongly arrested and had nothing to do with the killings. The prosecutor asked the judge to suppress all evidence and expert testimony related to the defense team's Odinism sacrifice theory. That is the motion the judge granted on September 4th. The court will not permit evidence submitted by the defense in support of their arguments regarding third-party perpetrators in the trial of this cause, as the probative value of such evidence is greatly outweighed by confusion of the issues and its potential to mislead the jury, said Gull's order. The court will allow that evidence to support an offer of proof at the trial if one is made by counsel, said Gull. Now, remember, we went through all this in great detail when we discussed the live stream titled Alternative Suspects. Right? We called this. Even the verbiage used, we called it right down to the T. What that means is that during the trial, the defense will still have a chance to try to convince Gull a sufficient link exists between Odinism and the alternate suspects to present that information to a jury. But first, they will have to make that case directly to Gull while the jury is asked to step out of the courtroom. If the judge determines at that time that the evidence is sufficient, the jury will be brought back to hear that evidence and supporting testimony. However, in her most recent ruling, the judge has already suggested she does not believe that a link exists. That raises questions about how effective future arguments will be, right? And that's what today's live stream is all about. What now, right? Richard Allen's home alone. What now? What will Richard Allen do now that he's all alone? But even if the defense suspects Gull will again rule against them during the trial, they have a reason to try anyway. By again introducing their alternate perpetrator argument at trial, the defense team will preserve that issue to be considered by the Court of Appeals if Allen is convicted and appeals the jury decision. Then the defense could argue Gull's ruling was unreasonable and even try to resubmit the evidence, and a new trial is ordered. So keep in mind, if they do make a deal, that's what would be beneficial to the prosecution in the state of Indiana. They could write it in there that he's not able to appeal. We'll give him this, and in return, you cannot appeal this case. And that has happened. We've covered cases where they literally include that in the plea agreement. All right, let's look at what nexus is. What is it, and why is it important to your case? This was written by Jay Miller. The term nexus is commonly used in the course of a criminal case, but what does it mean? It simply means a connection to something. While the definition is simple, the nexus element is frequently a point of contention in a criminal case. For example, the nexus element can be an issue in determining if probable cause exists to search a particular location. This is a common area of litigation in drug cases. Sometimes police will gather enough evidence to believe a defendant committed a crime. This could be found in executing a sale to a confidential informant or an undercover police officer. Based on this information, police may seek a search warrant for the defendant's residence, perhaps his car. So It has to be a substantial connection. And that's what they're lacking. That's what the defense team was lacking when it comes to these third-party suspects. Yes, all of the everything that's been presented is very interesting. But really, it's just speculation. Arrow says Judge Gull was very professional. Those last 3 days had heard so many negative things and was rather surprised. Yeah, it's very strange. Like, how are you supporting a guy where they have tons of evidence against him? To me, that means they believe he's guilty, but they still choose to support him. Very interesting. Deidra, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate you guys. Nope. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you so much for wanting to help. More the better. Hather says, I'm so glad to hear those names of innocent people can't keep being brought up. Well, remember, just because they can't find a connection doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And they still have the opportunity if they plan to go to trial. So they're not here to say, hey, these guys are innocent or guilty. They're just here to say, hey, you failed to show that connection to the court. So we'll catch up on the chat and then we'll continue on. What's up, Diamonds? Good to see you. Yeah, Richard Allen has no alibi, guys. No alibi. Welcome in, Gail. If the defense postpone the hearings again, will Richard Allen automatically be eligible for bond? I think that relates to the speedy trial. I think that's they're past that. They can't argue that anymore. So let's go ahead and look at the documents that were posted. This was shared in our members only Discord by Frank Meister. So let's take a look at these. And the status hearing was concluded this morning as well. I'm sure they may have talked about or came to an agreement, maybe even discussed the death penalty. All right. The court, having had the state's motion and Lamine under advisement following a hearing conducted on August 1st, 2024, and having heard and considered the evidence, admitted exhibits, arguments of counsel, defendant's supplemental submission regarding state's motion and Lamine, filed August 13th, 2024, and the state's response to defendant's memorandum of law, filed August 26, 2024, grants paragraphs 1 through 6 over defendant's objection and grants paragraph 8 through 12 over the defendant's objection. So the 13, all right, wait, hold on. 1 through 6 and 8 through 12. So this would be pertaining to what the state filed, not the defense. As it relates to paragraph 7, the burden is on the defendant to show the nexus, right? Nexus meaning connection between Odinism, cult, or ritualistic killing. So is the judge saying that that's not what happened? No, that's not what she's saying. She's saying that the defense has failed to prove that they're actually connected. And right now, all we've really seen is speculation. Is it very interesting? Is it suspicious? Hell yeah, it is. But that, you can't chase that. We need proof. Between cult, ritualistic killing, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Kline, Jerry Klein, Ron Logan, and the murders of the two victims. So these names like Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, and Rod Abrams, you might not be as familiar with those. These three are all connected. I believe they were even roommates at one time. I think Ned Smith considered himself a father figure of Elvis Fields. I think I read that. May have even worked for Ned Smith. And these three guys are all buddies. They're all friends on Facebook and all that. But I haven't seen any connection between those folks and Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Maybe Johnny Messer is the go-between. I'm not quite sure. The case law is quite clear that the nexus must not be based on speculation, conjecture, rumors, hearsay. And that's all it's been, right? And if you're leaning towards that, you're going to run with it, hook, line, and sinker, but rather on admissible evidence. The court finds the defense has failed to produce admissible evidence demonstrating a nexus between Odinism, cult, or ritualistic killing. Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Kline, Jerry Klein, Ron Logan, and the murders. Therefore, the court grants paragraph 7 of the state's motion and Lamine over defendant's objection. The court will not permit the evidence submitted by the defense in support of their arguments regarding third-party perpetrators in the trial of this cause, as the probative value of such evidence is greatly outweighed by confusion. Remember, we talked about this, right? Same verbiage. Outweighed by confusion of the issue and its potential to mislead the jury. The court will allow that evidence to support an offer of proof at the trial if one is made by counsel. And then also we have the status hearing document. Whoop. Sorry about that. I don't know what the hell happened. My computer's going crazy. What in the Sam hell's going on around here? All right, here we go. Defendant appears with attorneys Brad Rosie, Jennifer Auger. State appears by Slick Nick, and Stacy Diener. Closed status hearing conducted and concluded. To be a fly on that wall, huh? So it's what I've been telling you guys. The status hearing, once they throw out these third-party suspects, we're going to start to see them wheel and deal. Talk about the death penalty, talk about options. So that's probably what was discussed today. And Richard Allen will sit down with his attorneys and they'll advise him. They'll give him his options, and ultimately it will be up to him. Welcome in, Witch. I'm a little behind, but I just had a heart attack. Thanks for the jump scare scream. Geez, that was loud. You're welcome. Diamond says, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, probably is. Probably, they need to prove that, but he does fit the description. Here, let's look at some of these photographs that we've shared since Richard Allen was arrested. Some of my video analyses. It's a good one. Looks like Ricky. Got the nose really well in this one. There you go again with the blue jacket. Remember, this is right before the murders. These videos are between November and December, right when he's going through his issues. I call them stressors. Holding a large knife. Not sure what he's doing over here. Got the sketches. So yeah, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Might be a duck. All right, let's zip on down here. See who we missed. Take care, Farmer. We'll see you again real soon or in the Discord. Yes, Truffles. Most creeps do stay within their circle of other creeps. I just can't wrap my head around KA still supports him, especially considering the charges. Yeah, and that could change. Plausible deniability. So even if she had her suspicions, the fact that he met with law enforcement, they appeared to know or should have known he was the guy on the bridge, and yet they hadn't served a search warrant. Very strange. So, and if you've been living with somebody and you're married to them, you've known them the majority of your life, it's not easy to think of them in that light. It would be very hard. It's much easier to deny it. Yeah, we're not going to get carried away just yet. We'll see, but I think we can expect a change of plea here in the next few days. What's up, Randy? Good to see you, buddy. Ruckus does rock. Bring in the ruckus. Olivia, too. Welcome in. Des says the coat. Yeah, that's the coat. Seen a lot of coats. That's the blue color. Zoe Kitty gifted a membership. Congrats to whoever received that. Make sure you thank Zoe. Appreciate you, Zoe. Pitbull Mom, welcome in. Gravitt has a October 13th walk scheduled. If you guys are near to Delphi, go check it out. Might be an extra special one this year. Pretty sure we'll have some answers way before then. Christine, welcome in. Dave G, it's a members only Discord. Once you become a member, shoot me an email and I'll give you instructions. Yeah, thank you, Zoe. Truffle says she may be waiting for the conviction. She may divorce him then. Yeah. I mean, you got to stand by your man, right? If he says, I'm innocent, what are you going to do? Believe everybody else and not him? Doesn't sound like a very good wife. She's doing what she needs to do. It's not her fault that Richard Allen killed those girls. Right? We don't know. We can speculate. Yeah, she covered it up or she knew he was out there. Well, a lot of people knew he was out there. Dan Doolin knew he was out there. He didn't really do much about it. Her loyalty at the moment is commendable, but I think she'll see him in a different light after. Yeah, maybe. Maybe she already does. Remember that photo? Let me see if I still have it. Just something different about this photo. He's got his glasses on his head. He's not hiding anymore. He's smiling. He's talking. He's holding paperwork. I think he's ready to be the bad guy. And the thing is, if he is a psychopath, which either a sociopath, psychopath, whatever you want to call it, if he's guilty of killing Abby and Libby, he falls under that category, one of those personality disorders. And those people that suffer from that oftentimes are parasites. It's easier for them, to live off somebody else. So he might find being in the prison system a little accommodating. He doesn't have to do anything anymore. He doesn't have to hide who he is. It might be a relief to him. Yes, but he confessed to her. Yeah, but we've confessions are a strange thing. There's people who are 100% innocent and still confess. I mean, go look at the Zion murders. They berated this poor man for 48 hours straight. They even made him sleep in the interrogation room. They wrote his confession for him and then made him read it on video. And he was shaking. All he wanted to do was be let go. They put him in, he didn't even go to trial. They had him locked up for over 5 years. And after the second or third year, they had solid proof that he was innocent of this crime. They had the real killer's DNA that was found inside the victim. And it wasn't his. But instead of letting this man go, they kept him in jail for another 3 years, trying to change the outline of or the course of his trial. We watched another video where a man was convinced by 2 seasoned investigators that he killed his father. They had all kinds of evidence against him. They had him admitting that he was the last person to see his father, that they had an argument. And for whatever reason, there was blood on the wall that belonged to his father. So they convinced him. He went absolutely crazy in the interrogation room. He ripped out his own hair, clawed his own skin until it bled, and ripped off his clothes Like they literally drove him mad. And he confessed to killing his father, who was found to be just hanging out with his girlfriend like the following day. And they still kept him in the mental facility instead of bringing him the good news like, hey, your father is alive. We're sorry, for pressuring you like that, but he's alive and well. No, they kept him in for 2 more days. They had him on a 72-hour hold. And after day one, they already had the truth. They left him in there for 2 more days. So this is why I'm not pro law enforcement. Like, no disrespect to any of you law enforcement, former law enforcement, but you guys know that there's plenty of bad apples out there. You know it, and I know it. So when it comes to confessions, you have to understand the circumstances. It has to be put into the proper context. And I'm not saying that's what happened to Richard Allen, but we got to make sure that he wasn't under duress, right? And the judge agreed that, hey, he confessed on his own. Nobody was pressuring him. So, but in his wife's mind, she's going through all of those circumstances that similar to what I just named, that how people who are innocent can be forced to confess. All they want to do is get out of that room. They're already suffering from the loss of their family member. Now they're being brainwashed and interrogated and beaten down mentally. They think that, hey, if I confess, I get to leave this room and I get to go tell everybody how they beat me up in this room. But that's not what happens. They just keep beating you up. The handcuffs get slapped on. Now you're in prison. You don't get to leave. Now you're locked in the room forever. It's an awful thing. So when it comes to the confessions, it needs to be put into context. So I think her, as Kathy, thinking, well, he confessed to me, it's because they're driving him crazy. Plausible deniability. That's what I call it. Hey, what's up, She Warrior? Welcome in. So we're not pro law enforcement, pro prosecution, pro defense. We're pro truth, pro victim, and pro victim's family and friends. That's what we're here for. You're right, but he confessed at least, yeah, who knows, 61 times. I'm more interested in the context of the confessions, what was said, when he said it, and what was said. And what my understanding is, he's providing information that only the killer would know. We've never heard about a box cutter. He's the one that told us. For all we know, they found serrated box cutter blades during the search. I don't know. The defense isn't going to be leaking that shit. But we went over the Kelsey Smith case as well. This guy covered Kelsey. He cleaned up a bunch of sticks, and then he put them over her and intertwined them. If that was the Delphi case, people are going to they're going to say, oh, well, those are runes, right? They're also going to look at the positioning of the bodies. Well, if you go through the rune alphabet and how they kind of position their own bodies to represent that rune, that doesn't leave many positions for a body to be. It covers all positions. That means that Abby and Libby could be in any position on that forest floor, and it would somehow tie into a possible rune. I think it's referred to as like a yoga position. They don't leave really any other positions. Every position will be found in that catalog. I think even the fetal position. There's no way for a body to lay that wouldn't be included in that. Shane says, at the end of the day, we don't support family bashing on Abby. Oh, sorry. On Abby and Libby's side. I do feel for Alan's also. It's not fair. It's not their fault, even though I think his wife should have copped it. Cop to it. Anybody that's capable of murdering two girls in broad daylight with sexual intent and then trying to hide it, by staging and misleading the investigation the way that this killer did with no criminal history that we know of, that means that this guy is extremely sophisticated and has been hiding who he is for a long time. You can't put blame on Kathy and his family for that. Not to mention the investigation. They made a lot of mistakes. If there's plausible deniability, it came from them. They gave a loving wife every reason to deny. And if he's saying, I didn't do this. Don says, I'm probably law enforcement. Are you saying pro law enforcement and anti criminals with authority and badges? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Anti criminal. But I mean, some of these cops who force these confessions, they don't face any consequences. So I don't know if we can consider that criminal. I think there should be. I think they should lose their jobs and face punishment for that. There's no reason you should be able to torture a human being who possibly just lost a relative. Hold that thought, you guys. I'm going to be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Good to see you, CJK. Tree Hugger, welcome in. Karen Hall, my concern is Cheyenne has not come out on any social media platforms and said that wasn't him. What do you mean? Cheyenne would have been there after he left the bridge. According to the prosecution's timeline, Richard Allen kidnapped the girls around 2:13 and wasn't seen again until possibly he was muddy on the 300. Cheyenne wouldn't have been anywhere near that. Yeah, that's their job, Hathers. Hather says, I feel like the defense is trying to control the narrative. 100%. So is the prosecution. They're trying to control the narrative as well. But they're held to the facts. Their narrative is held to the fire. And it looks like the prosecution's finally was as well today. Truffles, to be fair, it has to be a terrible shock to his family. Yeah. I mean, that ruins everything for you. That's your kid's grandfather. I mean, but we have to remember, if Richard Allen is the guilty party, if he's the guilty person in this, he's the one that's victimizing everybody. He's now victimized his own daughter's grandchildren. They have to live with that. Who's your grandfather? Oh, he's the Delphi killer. Oh, who's your father? He's the Delphi killer. Oh, you're single? Oh, okay. Well, hey, have you ever been married? Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Why not? Well, because I was married to the Delphi killer. Right? Not to mention the most important thing, which is Abby and Libby's futures, their grandkids. We all go through life. We have these, different parts of life. You're young, you're kind of reckless and dumb. Then you go through college, you go to your career, and then you have kids, and then your kids start to have kids. Now it's like part 2 of this, this world that's been given to us. That's been stripped from these folks on all sides. It's a horrible thing. And somebody has to pay for it. Not just anybody. The person who's responsible. So I'm sure all these Richard Allen supporters, this is them right now. So I feel for them. It's not easy to support somebody that has so much evidence against them. Y'all better thank a union member. Yeah. Sound like Kamala Harris. Ooh, PTO. Nice. Yeah, so go look up the Kelsey Smith case. Edwin Hall, he did eventually plead guilty, but for whatever reason, he cut these branches off sticks, cleaned them up, and covered her with sticks that were interwoven. He's not an Odinite, quote unquote. And he's a very similar killer to Richard Allen. He was in a target. He didn't plan anything out. He went to the target looking for a target for his victim. And that could have been Richard Allen, right? He might be prepared to commit a horrible act, but not really planning it out. He's just there to kind of find his victim. Well, that's what happened with Edwin. He went, he was out doing all kinds of crazy shit. I think he was even looking to steal some jewelry for his wife. He was married as well. He finds Kelsey Smith and he runs out of the store. He walks out of the store. She's still shopping and checking out. And he goes in his vehicle and that's when he launches his plan. He came up with the plan right at that moment. Like, okay, when she comes out, I'm going to assault her and throw her in her own vehicle. So he ambushed her. He kind of watched where she was going. And as she was getting in her car, he attacked her and forced her into her own vehicle and then went out and killed her and covered her with cleaned up sticks. He wasn't doing any ritual. Why he did that, who knows? But it's very similar to what happened in Delphi. Took her to a wooded area near a water source and covered her with sticks, exactly like Richard Allen did. Don't believe me? Go look up the case. Kelsey Smith, Edwin Hall. Very similar. Opportunistic sociopath is what I call him. Carol, welcome in. Could be found dead. Sounds too complicated for one, like assassination attempt. Donald Trump, crooks dead and ashes to dust. It's not that complicated, Carol. We want it to be, but it's not. It's really that simple. Richard Allen most likely went to those trails looking to do harm. Saw that nobody was there at that specific moment. Saw Abby and Libby, specifically Abby struggling on that bridge. Thought to himself, I cross that bridge all the time. I can be over there in 3 minutes. I know exactly what's going on over there. Nobody's home. And I know what's going on underneath that bridge. I'll assault them there. After he attempts to assaults them, he panics. And the crime scene kind of explains his human behavior and who he is as a person, right? And that's how they profiled him. Dawn says Cheyenne claims she didn't see, or hear anything. Exactly. She was interviewed by law enforcement multiple times. And also, she will most likely be included in the geofencing. Beth says all the Richard Allen supporters are probably in chats getting ideas for the defense. Yeah, and I mean, they've been digging. I applaud them for them. I've been digging. I haven't stopped digging. I don't trust anybody. And the people who are guilty of this, they need to pay for what they've done, whoever that is. Right now, the evidence tells us it's Richard Allen and nobody else. So I feel bad for Richard Allen's cheerleaders, but this is them right now. Trying to fit the square peg into the round hole. We have a scrub report. This just in from Zoe Kitty. 66 likes and 140 in the chat. Please hit the like button. Don't be a scrub. And go share this. We're going to hang out for a little bit. There's a few more things I want to talk about. CJK says Kelsey Smith, awful, beautiful young lady who made a quick trip to Target. 18 years old. It's heartbreaking. Cindy, how you doing? Welcome in, Cindy Lean. Olivia, bet the defense have major headaches today. Oh, yeah. I think we're looking at a plea agreement here, guys. You might even see it on the docket by tomorrow. It'll say it in bold letters. Change of plea. Support with Steffa. What's up? Good to see you. Shout out to the replay crew. Mark Collins, good to see you. Welcome in. I promise we're going to get caught up on this chat. Hey, the blue-eyed trucker. That's another great channel. Go check him out, guys. Good to see you. How you doing? Boston Christian, welcome in. Truffle says he scoped out the area. Exactly. He backed in. Doesn't mean he lured the girls. Doesn't mean he was on the Anthony Shots account. Got them to go there. Like, multiple things can be going on at the same time. He could have put on his disguise. He could have been drunk and high from the night before. He could have been getting into all kinds of shit that we don't know about. And then he says, I'm going to the trail. The witnesses said, hey, he looked like he was having a bad day. He was walking with purpose. Let's see. This is from the probable cause affidavit. 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. Witnesses advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking back toward Freedom Bridge. 1:26. That's right after Richard Allen showed up, according to, a similar vehicle to Richard Allen's passed by the Hoosier Harvest Store and was captured on video. So right at the same time, he's apparently showing up. They're taking a photo, and now they're about to meet in between where he parked and on their way to the Freedom Bridge. She advised that was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim two's video. So they're saying, we didn't get a good look at the guy, but all I can tell you for certain is that that's the guy that's in Libby's video. So then you had Richard Allen come forward, and he stated he was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females, right? So he's basically telling on himself. He even described them, noted one was taller and had brown hair, brown or black hair. He did not remember the description, nor did he speak with them. So the man they saw is the man on the bridge, and Richard Allen is saying that he bumped into those girls. That's a good point. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's pull up the evidence that the defense plans to bring up in court. And it all involves Odinism. This is why I believe that they're going to plead. Why will Richard Allen plead? Because he doesn't have any other choice. He better hope they offer him a deal. Let's just put it that way. He'll plead. He'll take a plea agreement if it's offered. And the only reason the prosecution would offer it now is to spare the victims and to spare Indiana the hassle. Let me share my screen real quick. Sorry about that. There it is. Right? Todd Click. DNA documentation. So I wonder if we'll ever hear about that. Photo of the F, right? We know that now it's probably not an F, but a palm print. Not sure what's going on with the yellow rope. And then right here, Odinism. Brad Holder. Daniel Bray, sacrificial ideology, Odin report. Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall's old address. Brad Holder. Brad Holder. All that stuff just got thrown out today. Confidential Boucher. He's the guy who had an old photo from Brad Holder's Facebook. Boucher affidavit. Ferenczi. Like, all of this stuff is attributed to that Odinism defense. Brad Holder, side by side of sticks forming the F. Brad Holder, Elvis Fields, Holder, Elvis, Elvis. Yeah, it's all Johnny Messer, Brad Holder. All of this is part of that defense, the ritualistic Odinism stuff. If you pull that all out of, they have maybe 6 items that they plan to show. Elvis Fields, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, all of it. Rod Abrams. Now, hopefully, they can still bring up the stuff with Betsy Blair. That was very interesting with the different car. So, I mean, they have nothing. So, when you ask me why would they plead, why would he take a plea agreement? Well, that's why. What else are they going to do? Go to the trial and say, yeah, we have nothing. Let's welcome in Periwinkle. What's up? Annette, welcome in. It is so sad. There cannot be a full justice for the girls. But anyway, the punishment the perpetrator can get is better than nothing. Yeah, it's more for the victims and the victims' families and just to make sure it doesn't happen again. But there can be no justice. Not real justice. Real justice would be for Richard Allen, if he's the guilty man, to have not done this. And it's very sad. Oftentimes, these killers, they don't know why, I was stressed out. Do you know why you did this? Can you tell us why you did it? I don't know. I've had these sick fantasies for a while now, and I was just really stressed out. Like, that's your excuse? Well, yeah, because I'm a sociopath or a psychopath, so I don't look at humans as humans. I look at them as objects. And I have no remorse. That's why I was able to commit the crime and go lay with my wife right after, as if nothing had happened. Because I have no remorse. I still have no remorse. Yep. Andy, welcome in. Some people that support Richard Allen probably think Epstein was a saint. Well, they probably support that behavior. That's why they're supporting Richard Allen. It's almost like satanic in a way. Because here we've argued how corrupt law enforcement can be while refusing to ignore the evidence against Richard Allen. We've taken those things into consideration. CJK says, I truly doubt he carried on a regular basis on his trail visits, yet that day he didn't have his gun. He planned on getting a victim. I agree. And he looked sickly. At the end of 2006, he looked sick. He was extremely skinny. He almost looked like he was on drugs, maybe. And then in 2018, he has his muscle tone back. He's got a little bit of weight on him, and he's climbing a mountain. So in a weird way, and I hate to say this, but he got his power back. And that to me tells me that he would have probably done this again. Felt like he got away with it. Brad from outside of the grid. Another great channel. Change of plea. Yeah, we're going to see that, guys. I'm making a prediction now. Within the next week, we'll probably see change of plea. Say the next week or two. Tree Hugger says we just had a school shooting, governor on site. God bless you all. Yeah, here in Phoenix, we had 2 cops that were shot. One of them is in critical condition last night. It was all over the news. Blue Eyed Trucker says sore after my accident Friday. I'm still waiting to post it as a short, but it happened live. Yikes. What happened? Glad to hear you're okay. I hope everybody's okay. So if you guys are wondering who Ned Smith is, there's a photo of him, Rod Abrams. They're just simply friends of Elvis Fields. Let's pull up the Frank's memo. They talk about that quite a bit. Elvis's alibi for February 13th, 2017 was also probably flawed. Probably flawed. Oh, man. State troopers who weren't part of the unified command determined that Elvis's roommate concocted a story concerning Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th, 2017. This roommate is named Rod Abrams. Abrams told the story claiming on February 13th, 2017 that he and Elvis Fields and a man named Ned Smith were visiting a sick friend in Muncie. Unfortunately for Rod Abrams, the story conflicted with the story that Elvis Fields told law enforcement as to his whereabouts on February 13th. So that kind of gives you an idea where they got those names from. It's 2 people tied to Elvis. Let's read a little bit of Psychology of Murder Concealment. It has been indicated that the precautionary acts are the behaviors that offenders commit before, during, or after an offense that are consciously intended to confuse, hamper, or defeat investigative or forensic efforts for the purposes of concealing their identity, their connection to the crime, or the crime itself, with the goal of avoiding convictions. Crime scene staging that refers to the deliberate alterations of physical evidence at the crime scene, including murder concealment. All right, guys, this is going to be our 10-minute warning. So if there's anything you want to add, let's hear it. I just wanted to break the news to you guys. Yeah, that's awful. The United States is under a mental health crisis. Big pharma. Return the diamonds with the big flex. Look at that bicep. It says flexing today, great live. Thanks for keeping us updated, Sleuth. Thank you for your support, Diamonds. It's been unwavering. Couldn't do it without you guys. You guys make this literally possible. Literally. That was a big flex. Boston says if the F was a handprint, then she was still trying to run. Gosh darn it. Well, a wound like that is going to make you dizzy. You're going to get real dizzy. Or if you're being pulled or pushed, you might stick your hand out, try to grab the tree. but she most likely became very dizzy from losing that amount of blood so quickly. She rested on the tree with her left hand and then fell backwards. And then Richard Allen positioned them for whatever reason, moving them. There was somewhat of an indention in the ground where they were found. It was like a small, like pothole area. I feel like he tried to put them down in that little hole where it kind of sunk in. And that's why he put the sticks over the top of them. Because if you put the sticks over them, the sticks would be kind of level with the ground around the hole. Yeah, they can't use any of the Odinism ritualistic stuff unless they can actually connect it to the crime scene. But if so, they have to kind of clear out the courtroom, get the jury out of there, and say, hey, look, judge, look, we finally found something solid here. Like, hey, this is the real deal. The judge will look at it, say, hey, this is admissible. They'll bring the jury in, they'll bring everybody else in, and then they'll be able to present it. Yeah, I don't think we're looking at any more delays, Hathers. That's just my opinion, but you could be right. I think the next thing we'll see is a change of plea. Richard Allen will take an agreement, will spare Indiana and everybody the heartache of that trial. And maybe they'll give him some kind of deal. And I'm sure they'll take the ability to appeal the case. They'll take that off the table too. They're holding all the cards now. 4 aces. And I think Richard Allen might have a pair of 2s. Oh, question. If the F was a handprint, then she was still trying to run. Yeah, run or... I mean, when you have a wound like that, what I've read, 2 minutes. And within those 2 minutes, you become very dizzy. And you'll pass out. So I'm assuming, and I know this is very awful to hear, but within those 2 minutes, becoming dizzy, leaning on the tree, and then falling backwards with your hand up. And no matter how those girls would have fallen or whatever Richard Allen, whatever position he would have left them in, and then placing those sticks on top of them, if you brought up the whole Odinism thing, it wouldn't matter what position they were in. They would still connect it in some way or the other. Cheeks, what's up? They got nothing. They got to go the planted evidence route now. Baldwin's going to stand up and pull my cousin Vinny. Everything the guy just said is bullshit. Hey, that's a good point. They might actually go that route, the whole chain of custody. But according to Baldwin, it's solid. But yeah, that's a good point. That is a great point.
What? At what point did you shoot the clerk?
I shot the clerk.
Yes, when did you shoot him?
I shot the clerk.
Hey, Dean, we need you.
Hey, Jill, good to see you. Don Spain says 2 things can be true at the same time in any case. Corruption and defendants can be guilty. It's called the real world. Exactly. There was even a case that we covered recently where the suspect was ultimately convicted but considered mentally ill. So he took the insanity path and he was awarded it. but he was still during that process was faking insanity, right? He was crazy during the crime, but he was faking it throughout the trial process. And the judge still said, well, I knew he was faking during this process, but I'm still saying that he was insane during the murder. Kind of the same with Kagan Klein. Maybe he was luring Abby to the trails or telling, he knew that they would be there that day. Or even maybe somebody else using the Anthony Shots account was talking to Libby and potentially trying to lure her there. For all we know, it could be somebody that she knows personally, but they weren't there to kill her. Maybe they were there to make fun of her or something like that. And then here comes a real killer who's not even connected to any of that. It's shitty, but those two things can be true at the same time. Welcome in, War Kittens. Good to see you. I think that the family and the community deserve a detailed explanation of why he did it, at least. I think he'll give the reason why. I think that'll be part of the agreement. But I think some of the details will be kept private. Some of the things that he did to the girls, part of the essay and all of that. I think that'll be part of the deal. He doesn't want that to be released to his daughter. That'll be his bargaining chip there. He'll say, if you can give me that, I'll give you this. So I say within a week or two, we'll see a change of plea on that docket. Hey, shout out to Milwaukee, the Heathen Coalition. Welcome on in. And I'm sure you're going to hear people say how Judge Gull is a Freemason, Nick is a Freemason, Brad Holder is a Freemason, and that this is all bullshit. But I guarantee when they first heard the news, this was them. Just the way it is. No, we're going to get that square peg into the round hole, whether you like it or not. Good to see you, Timmy. Thanks for the email, by the way. Hopefully you got that figured out. Jill, I agree. Hope you feel better. Hang in there. This was a super live. Salute, thanks. Wish everyone a super day. Love and light, y'all. Thank you, Hathers. Hey, Augie, what's up? I am not saying Richard Allen wasn't involved, but I don't think he acted alone. Why do you say that? Well, you better tell him to hurry up. Yeah, CJK, I'm pretty sure it's just like a hands-free type situation, as long as your hands are free. And it looks like with the blue-eyed trucker, his camera's like posted way up in the back. So I don't see how that would be distracting him. If it was, they wouldn't be allowed to talk on their radios. You know what I mean? Thank you, Zoe. Stingy, what's up? A little bit of conscience left. He will change his plea. Yeah, he will. I think he will. And this is why I think that, right? We saw the change in his demeanor. He's got his little folder. He's not wearing that shock vest, it appears. And he's even got his bifocals and a smirk. To me, that says I'm not hiding anymore. You want the bad guy? I'm the bad guy. That's what he's telling the world. All right, I'm the bad guy. Randy says, I hope the families get answers from the court hearings. I think they'll get some. They might even get all of the answers, but the public won't. Hey, Annabelle, logging on at work, so we'll watch replay. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping a comment. Have a great day at work today. Hold it down. I'll look forward to seeing you in the comments. I think along the lines of a lone wolf, Mr. Steve showed it could certainly have been done by one man in a short amount of time. Exactly. I mean, we covered a case, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, where a young teenage girl, she was 17 years old. She killed her mom and her young mom's athletic live-in boyfriend with a blade. We're talking about a little girl here. It can be done, especially if you have a gun too. He had a gun and he trapped him down in between that cliff. There's a cliff face right next to the Weber property. I mean, there's no way you're climbing up that. So that's what he did. He blocked him in between the creek and that cliff face. There was only one way to go, and that's across the creek. And the water was very shallow. So that's what they did. Either he forced them across the creek or he followed them. It's very shallow right there. There's only one part that's like about maybe 2 feet deep after you go off. You know, there's a little island right there, a sandbar, if you will. Then Mint. Yeah, what are you going to do? He has nothing. It's time for him to be the bad guy that he is. It's that simple. Say a week or two, guys, you'll see that plea change. Yeah, feigning. So you can be feigning as if you're insane and also still be insane. It's very tricky. Yep, you can pretend and also it be happening. But I don't think that's what's happening with Richard Allen. Like, I'm sure some of his confessions, he was like, oh, I didn't shoot those girls, knowing damn well he used the knife, right? I think he's going to be a little bit smarter than people give him credit for. Not smart, but smarter. Because if he was smart, he would have been able to control himself and he wouldn't have done what he did. And it takes a certain kind of narcissism to even attempt to get away with this. You know what I mean? Psychopathy, even. Not to throw out any red flags. And to be bold enough to just continue on with life as if nothing happened. That's how he was able to get away for 6 years. And being a psychopath doesn't mean that you're insane. You know the difference between right and wrong. But also, a lot of times, they have trauma in their life. So we might even hear about that later on. Once he's convicted and starts doing his time, he might come forward and tell us stories about what happened to him as a child and what his childhood was like. That's just a prediction of mine. Hey, Brown Skittle, what's up? Says, yeah, I needed a break. The defense and the free Richard Allen people were pissing me off too much. right? Yep. The Macaulay Culkin face. I guess I'll hit you guys one more time just for good measure, and then we'll get out of here. Bad man, men, tell it to the angel that was right above you as you committed this horror. Well, it was probably the fallen angel. The other angels were over Abby and Libby. Yeah, and that's between him and his maker. If he found Jesus, good for him. That has nothing to do with me. That's between him and God. August says, I admit I could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, others could be involved. We don't know. Even the people that were mentioned as third-party suspects could be involved. Remember, just because we don't see it or we don't have the information now doesn't mean it exists. But one thing that is a fact is that Richard Allen's defense has failed to connect them to this crime. And the prosecution has their own narrative to push, and they're doing very well at connecting Richard Allen to the crime. He has no alibi. He places himself at the trail, and nobody's seen him after the 2:13 mark. The witnesses say that the man they saw was the guy on the bridge in Libby's video. The same girls that saw him, Richard Allen says he saw them as well, even gave a description of them. And nobody saw him after the fact, except for a guy matching the same description being bloody around 3:57 p.m., which would have been shortly after Brad Weber came home. Right? Richard Allen's not concerned with the people on the bridge. Cheyenne and the Subaru crew. He's not concerned with them. They can't see him. Right? I'm safe. I can still continue doing what I need to do, which in my opinion, he needed these girls to be clothed. He's staging the crime scene so he can point in the direction away from him. Some random guy, some random family guy that just happened to be on the trail and, had this compulsion. That's why he staged the crime scene, to hide his DNA and to point away from him. But in a way, he was pointing to himself without knowing it. Thank you, Jari. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on the way out. And we're about to get out of here in about 1 minute. I'm just trying to catch up on the chat here. Truffle says Richard Allen is real messed up in the head. Not insane, but evil. Yep. I think that's what we have. Pure evil. I agree, CJK. But we're all sinners until we're reborn, right? But I don't need to be the one to forgive. That's somebody else's duty. It's not my job to judge. But discernment and judgment are two different things. It's almost over. We don't know yet. But I haven't led you guys astray yet, have I? I've been giving you guys the play-by-play ever since Richard Allen got arrested. You're welcome, Brown Skittle. All right, guys. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the way out. Replay crew, you know what to do. Drop a comment and I'll get back to you. If you guys need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, hit me up at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. or drop me a email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. I appreciate all of you. And hopefully we'll get some justice for Abby and Libby's family and friends here in the next 2 weeks. And that is my prediction. Extra big shout out to Zoe, Return the Diamonds, and thank you, Boston Christian, for the super chat. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, peace.